Your Life in Sex Island, Chapter 2 in Praise of Professional Liars, page 49. Yes, being one myself, I love professional liars. It is, after all, a well-loved, extremely well-paid profession, and the United States is blessed with an abundance. I am just now finishing this chapter. There are some odd coincidences in history that have no deep meaning but haunt me nevertheless. When I was very young, very young, our George I was bleeding the invading Great Britain, United Kingdom's George the Third, with the War of 1,000 Small Cuts. Our George I was leading the insurgent terrorists against the Hessians. You remember the Hessians, the people of Hesse, hired out by the German nobility, the lords, to the King of England. They were great fighters. They were paid in food. They were basically slaves. The English lord paid the Hessians' lords for the fighting Hessians' service. These were the guys that George I, Washington to you, beat when he crossed the Delaware River and attacked them at Trenton on Christmas night. George III originally had about 18,000 Hessians shipped to his colonies. Then George III had a surge and increased the Hessians to about 30,000. But George I only had to hang in there, and eventually even the lords of England couldn't have someone do their fighting forever. It cost money. The lords loved money. Eventually they had to back down. The rest, as they say, is history. Franklin ran into Gibbon at a cocktail party and suggested that he, Gibbon, write a sequel and call it The Rise and Fall of the British Empire. Gibbon was not amused. Now, I fear, someone might do well to write The Rise and Fall of the American Empire. And how much difference did it, our Revolutionary War, make? History does not disclose its alternatives. Are Canada and Australia less free than we? They didn't fight a revolutionary war. Do they have better or worse governments? Don't get me wrong, I'm glad that our George I and we won and England had to lose. War will destroy the mightiest nation. The lords of England had already fattened themselves mightily on the slavery of others. Whereas Hitler killed 6 million people, the lords of Great Britain killed 6 million Indians at a crack and then went back and did it again. And the lords of Great Britain killed 1 million Irish and never wept a tear. That was after they had starved and impoverished their own countrymen. The lords of Great Britain make Saddam Hussein look like a sweet kindergartner. Now our George III, he's Bush II, but he's our George III president. George III has attacked the terrorist insurgents in another country. We don't know the outcome, but it is likely that it won't make much difference, except for all manner and tremendous losses all around. Now I have worked my way around to our George III, perhaps the greatest professional liar in history. The fact that all of our moneyed religions classify George III, Bush II, as perhaps one of the greatest professional liars, both tends to prove my classification and to explain why they supported him in his campaign for election and in his efforts to bring about the end times. I was raised Catholic, and the Catholic Church and the school that I attended did not preach a great deal about the end times in the sense of eschatology. Yes, there were always the final judgment, when we would rise perfected physically and spiritually. I have a business associate who studies the Bible and is guided by the Holy Ghost. So he understands all this stuff. Now you and I know that everyone has always believed that he lives in extraordinary times, usually something like the end times. Thousands of times whole sects have gone to this or that hill to await the end, and then, whoops, had to come back to the flatlands with the rest of us. Professional liars will set you free. I know they've done a lot for me. I'd be idle at 70, picking bucks from the money tree. But with all their help, luckily, I'll keep working till 93. I will be productive and see that they can live in luxury. What do you know? That's the end of this chapter. So I have to stop now. Thank you for watching. Please purchase the book, Your Life in Sex Island, by clicking the link in the description below. Thanks again.